My name is Ayo Obadele. In the language of my ancestors, Ayo means joy and Obadele means the king has returned home. But for a long time, I was far from home, far from true joy, far from the truth. I was born in a small village in West Africa, where the spiritual and physical were never separate. I grew up surrounded by ancient traditions, secrets whispered on full moon nights, and practices that many would call occult. For us, they were just the ways of the ancients. Still young, I was taken into the most secretive circles of initiation. There, I learned to manipulate the invisible, to master what the eyes cannot see, but the spirit feels. It was there I became what the world would call a warlock, and for years I walked that path. I saw, I heard, I touched, and I released scents that did not come from the earth, but from the dark realms, perfumes that seduce, dominate, and enslave, candles, incense, smoke. Nothing was just a symbol. Everything had purpose. But today I am not here to impress you with what I have lived. I am here to free you with what I have learned. The journey I will share with you is not just mine. It can be yours too, because there are things you feel but do not understand. And it is about that we need to talk. Have you ever wondered why certain smells mark you so much? Why are there scents that calm you, and others that, without explanation, awaken unease within you? Few realize, but the spiritual world has doors that do not open just with words or gestures. Many of these doors open with smell, with scent, with aroma. Do you know why? Because smell is a primitive, direct sense that does not pass through logic. It accesses the spirit. That is why, since ancient times, rituals involve incense, scented candles, smoke. It is not just culture. It is a spiritual mechanism. They knew this, and they used it. Before we continue with the video, I just wanted to quickly ask you something. If you're enjoying it, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to see how far this message is reaching. When I was in the occult, one of the first lessons I received was, the right smell opens the right path. And this phrase, as simple as it may seem, carries immense weight. Because the right path for them is not always the right path for your soul. Today, with what I have lived and what God has taught me after my liberation, I can see how much aromas are present in invisible battles. Some perfumes are invitations. Some smells are disguised pacts. You may have the door to your life open, simply because of an aroma you allowed in. But before I show you this clearly, I need you to understand how this spiritual world acts sneakily, sensorially, and silently. There are 3 types of aromas that operate in the spiritual world. And the first one, is the most disguised, the most accepted, the most innocent. I'm talking about natural aromas. Do you know those smells that come from plants, herbs, or burned woods? Palo Santo, myrrh, patchouli, white sage, burned rosemary. Many of these aromas are sold in stores as if they were just calming, purifiers, aromatherapy. But what few people know is that many of these aromas have been used for millennia in spiritual rituals, including summoning rituals. I saw this with my own eyes. Before my transformation, when I was still operating on the other side, I learned one thing. Entities move by codes, and aroma is one of those codes. The right scent at the right time can open a door. It can facilitate a summoning. It can prepare a space. And the most dangerous, it can do all of this without the person realizing. As I mentioned, smell is a powerful key that can open invisible doors. But beyond natural aromas, there is a type of aroma that goes even further. It is not just a scent from nature. It is made with a specific purpose. It is perfume. Let's think for a moment. Have you ever entered a place and smelled a scent so sweet or pleasant that you immediately felt more relaxed, more at ease? Or on the contrary, have you ever smelled a fragrance on someone and without knowing why, felt an impulse to get closer to that person? This is not just chemistry, it's much deeper. When I was in the occult, I saw how the use of certain perfumes was a form of spiritual manipulation, and the most insidious part is that most people don't even realize they are being affected. Do you know that seduction perfume you find on store shelves? The one that promises to make people feel attracted, that generates an immediate emotional response? Well, I tell you, it carries much more than just a fragrance. It carries a spiritual intention. I remember a case I witnessed while I was immersed in that world. A person I knew used a specific perfume, and every time he passed by someone, it seemed like people were hypnotized. It was as if he had control over the attention of those around him. And in fact, it was not black magic or any other direct spell. It was simply the effect of the perfume. That fragrance had the power to influence the emotions of people, the way they felt about him. The perfume acted as an invisible channel, making him appear more attractive, more desirable. And the scariest part is that the people around him didn't know why they were drawn to him. They couldn't understand the feeling the perfume triggered in them. I saw this with my own eyes. And there's more. It's not just perfumes that act to attract, but also those that mess with our emotional states in a more negative way. I remember once using sandalwood incense in a ritual. The intention was to calm the space, but what I didn't know was that this specific aroma had the power to emotionally destabilize. The sensation that lingered in the air after some time was one of growing tension, as if something was out of place, something no one could identify. These examples show how perfume and aromas can be more than just pleasant or relaxing sensations. They carry energetic potential and often are used to influence people's emotions and intentions in ways we cannot always perceive. Perfumes are chosen for their properties of seduction, attraction, magnetism, and although they may seem harmless, they can open doors to spiritual forces we cannot see, but that know how to act within us. Many times, when we choose a perfume, we are not only creating an external impression, but also opening an internal door to energies that affect us in profound ways. We all act on stimuli, often without realizing. Our body and mind are programmed to react to external signals, and one of the greatest and most subtle of these stimuli is smell. It is like a key that opens doors within us, accessing emotions and memories in a way that other senses cannot. For example, have you ever noticed how certain smells can instantly change your mood? Imagine walking into a store and the smell of lavender flowers in the air immediately brings you a sense of calm, peace. Maybe you have memories of a peaceful time in your life, or simply the fragrance triggers a state of relaxation in you. This happens because smell is directly linked to the part of the brain responsible for emotions and memories. Now take another situation. You are in a closed space and suddenly smell a strong and heavy cigarette smoke. What happens? Your mind immediately associates that smell with something uncomfortable, something that can even cause irritation or a feeling of suffocation. The smell triggers an immediate emotional response, often without you even needing to think about it. It's an automatic physical and emotional reaction. And here's the interesting part. These stimuli don't happen by chance. The smell you sense when you enter a restaurant, for example, has been carefully chosen to awaken a desire or a sensation. The smell of fresh coffee in a coffee shop can make you feel welcome and relaxed, encouraging you to sit and stay longer. Stores know this, businesses know this, even restaurants know this. Smell is used strategically, often to guide you in directions you don't even realize. What many people don't know is that the spiritual world works the same way. When you smell a specific aroma, something is awakened inside you, and often you don't even realize that this emotional response is being manipulated. The right perfume at the right time can influence your emotions and even your decisions. I lived this closely. When I was in the occult, I saw how aromas were used as spiritual bait to attract people and manipulate them without them knowing. Smell becomes a strategic tool, a way to guide someone down an invisible yet powerful path. And this is not just something from ancient rituals. It's something that happens every day in everyday spaces without you realizing. These aromas, when used with intention, can be open doors to the spiritual realm. Just as you are drawn to a familiar aroma or feel discomfort with a specific scent, the spiritual world also takes advantage of this sensitivity. Aromas have the power to influence us deeply and often unconsciously. Now, let's move on to the third type of aroma. This is the most dangerous, the most hidden. It's the type of aroma that many of us have already encountered in stores, supermarkets, or even in our own homes, but it carries a much heavier spiritual energy than it seems at first glance. I'm talking about consecrated aromas, those used in occult rites, often without you knowing. And here's the most insidious part. These fragrances can be used to invoke spirits, make pacts, and even curse or manipulate. You may find these fragrances disguised as simple incense or scented candles, but what they really carry is an intentional, energetic charge. I remember once being invited to a ritual. The space was impregnated with the smell of myrrh incense, a scent that many know as something simple and even relaxing. However, for those who know the spiritual world, myrrh incense is one of the traditional ingredients in summoning rituals. When I entered that room, I immediately felt that something was wrong. The energy was thick, something was being summoned there. The smell, more than just a fragrance, was working as an entrance to what couldn't be seen. And this type of aroma is not exclusive to incense. You may have already bought candles or essential oils, believing they were simply decorating the environment, when in fact they were carrying energy that affected you spiritually. White sage candles, for example, often used to purify a space, are actually consecrated in occult cults to call spirits and invoke forces that can directly influence our lives. I saw up close how these fragrances, charged with spiritual intentions, can alter the course of someone's life. We're not talking about something visible, something tangible. We're talking about an invisible world where these fragrances serve as bridges to entities with their own agenda. Perhaps you're wondering, but how can I know if what I'm using has energy like this? The answer is simple. If you're using something without discerning its origin or the intention behind it, you're allowing something to enter your life, even unconsciously. Because, as I learned in the occult, the spiritual world does not operate with ignorance. It operates with legality. In other words, if you allow something to enter, even without knowing what it is, the spirit can use that to access your life. I myself was a victim of this in my journey. Perfumes, incense, and oils with spiritual intentions were used to trap me, to create invisible bonds that for a time I didn't know how to break. The smell of a simple incense in a ritual that seemed harmless was actually a signal of something much bigger being summoned, something that was affecting my soul. So when you smell an incense or a candle that seems to have a deep effect on your emotional or mental state, you should be on alert. What seems like just a relaxing aroma could be a spiritual portal disguised as something harmless. Now, with all this in mind, it's important for you to understand the need for discernment. I'm not saying all aromas are bad. I'm not saying you need to get rid of everything you have at home, but I'm inviting you to be more conscious. The spiritual world works sneakily, and many times we allow it to enter the door of our house without realizing it. The first step is always to ask, where does this come from? What is the true intention behind this aroma? It's not about fear. It's about being wise. It's about protecting what you allow into your life. Prayer is the key to blocking negative spiritual influences. Consecrate the space where you live. Consecrate the objects you use. If you have a perfume or incense you use frequently, pray over them. Ask God to cleanse them of all evil, so they do not carry invisible energies that could affect you or your home. Another important point is to pay attention to what you feel when you're near an aroma. The Holy Spirit speaks through peace and unrest. If you feel discomfort or disconnection when using something, it's a sign of alert. Always seek peace in your spirit, and if it's missing, maybe it's time to leave that aroma behind. In summary, each aroma has an intention, no matter how natural or innocent it seems. The true protection lies in your spiritual discernment, in your ability to recognize the signs and act wisely. Remember, smell is powerful, and what you allow to be smelled can affect your spirit more than you realize. Today, you have learned something most people never stop to reflect on. Aromas have power. They are not just smells you experience and forget. Each aroma carries energy, a spiritual intention. Each scent, whether natural or manufactured, has the power to open doors that can lead you to spiritual places of light, but also to places of darkness. I lived in the shadows, manipulated these energies, and witnessed how aromas can influence our emotions and our destiny, and all of this, often without us even realizing. However, what I want you to understand from all of this is that we do not need to fear, because spiritual discernment is our greatest protection. In my journey of liberation, I learned that the secret lies not in fear, but in wisdom. Knowing what you are allowing to enter your life and how you are reacting to it. Knowing that just as a scent can attract or repel, the choices you make in your life have the power to open spiritual doors. When you find yourself in an environment with fragrances that disturb you, with aromas that trigger a strange or uncomfortable sensation, stop and observe. Ask yourself, what is the origin of this? What am I allowing to enter? And above all, pray. Consecrate the space, consecrate the aromas, consecrate everything you use. I always say, the Holy Spirit guides us through discernment. When something is wrong, He disturbs us, gives us signals. You can feel the inner peace or the lack of it when you are near something that shouldn't be there. And if peace is lacking, seek the Lord's guidance. Ask Him to purify the space and drive away spiritual influences that do not come from Him. Over the years, I have learned that when you consecrate your life and your space to God, there is no room for negative spiritual influences to enter. The sense of smell, being a door, can be closed when you align with His will. Remember, aromas can be signs, but they don't have to be a sentence. You have control over what you allow in your life, and by being aware, you can protect yourself from the invisible attacks of the enemy. I invite you to do something now. Take a moment. Pray over the environments you frequent, over the aromas you use. Ask God to purify your house, your body, and your soul from any invisible influence that may have infiltrated without your knowledge. Prayer is the most powerful shield, and it not only cleanses the physical space, but strengthens your spiritual protection. Finally, remember, there is nothing more powerful than God's presence in your life. When you are aligned with Him, no negative spiritual force has power over you. May your life be filled with discernment, and may you always feel the peace of knowing that you are protected. You are not alone. God is with you, and He guides you every step of the way. Trust in Him, pray constantly, and keep your spiritual eyes open. The journey does not end here, but what you have learned today may be the beginning of a new path of protection and spiritual freedom. May you walk in wisdom, discerning the aromas, the stimuli, and everything that enters your life. And may the true joy and peace, which only come from God, invade your heart. Before I finish, I want to thank you for being here, listening and reflecting on everything we've shared. This journey of discernment and spiritual protection is something we need to do together. And I want you to know that you are not alone. If you've been touched by this message, if something inside you was awakened, or if you simply want to continue this journey of spiritual learning and growth, subscribe to the channel now. We have new videos every day, and each one is made to help you walk in wisdom, faith, and protection. I'll be here sharing teachings, stories, and practices that can make a difference in your spiritual life. Together, we will continue this journey, learning and growing, always seeking the truth that sets us free. So, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any content. I also want to hear from you in the comments. Share your experiences, your questions, or simply tell me where you are watching from. We're forming a strong community, and each one of you is an important part of this walk. And remember, every day we're here, posting videos to help you strengthen your faith, understand the spiritual world more deeply, and find the true peace that only comes from God. Don't miss this opportunity to grow spiritually with us. See you in the next video. Until then,